This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett. This is the Ramble, back again after a few weeks off. Ladies and gentlemen, in what is considered to be the most oppressed city of the United States, it's Larry Bubbles Brown, folks.
Yes. Why would I live in the most depressed city? It's not good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I watched a little bit of a documentary. I'm going to watch more of it later with Anderson Cooper about San Francisco and it's called What Happened to San Francisco. And it's not the city I knew, at least in certain parts of it. I mean, even the depressed parts of the city are more depressed than they ever were. So how do you negotiate?
Yeah, the Tenderloin is just out of control, which was always, if you're not from here, a very kind of a sleazy part of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Chappelle was here last week, and this was in the news that he was having dinner at some restaurant in the Tenderloin. Somebody in front of the restaurant took a dump in the street, and he couldn't believe how bad things are here.
Yeah, but why was he eating in the Tenderloin?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, it must have been a really good restaurant.
I mean, I guess Tenderloin is the best kind of beef, but, might have been a steak joint. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's that area is just it's only like 2 or 3 blocks from Macy's, so you're... And then, let's see, I just heard that 17 stores have left the Union Square area, which I didn't know there were 17 stores there, but...
Yeah, well, the reason they're leaving is the theft.
Theft, yeah, and they say it's also dangerous to their employees.
Wow. So are they moving those stores elsewhere, or did they just close them down?
They just closed them down.
Oh, boy. I remember...
You got to get out here and take a look at it before it completely implodes.
I remember years ago I was traveling home one night, and I don't know, it was down around, I guess in the Tenderloin area. Okay, and because I don't know exactly what the Tenderloin area is, but I think I have a good idea of it. And all of a sudden, the traffic was coming to dead halt. And I'm going, come on, it's Saturday night. This is not an area that's a big area for, dining and dancing and things like that. What's the stall for? And then I suddenly noticed. It's where all the hookers were standing out on the street, and all the guys were driving by talking to them.
Yeah.
And it was just horrendous. But it wasn't, how can I put it? It wasn't seedy. It was just hookers.
Didn't seem dangerous.
It didn't seem dangerous, no. I never felt a danger there. And I just, that's the worst I ever saw that part of San Francisco become. Now, granted, where you live, there's no problem, right? I mean, you don't see people sleeping on the streets, do you?
A few now. There's some guy that got savagely beaten last month by a homeless person he'd been sparring with over the past couple of weeks, and that was at Chestnut and Laguna.
Yeah. And now you live in Cow Hollow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they ever called it Cow Hollow, but it's Cow Hollow.
I think there were cows here 100 years ago, literally. So.
And it's north of Chestnut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what street do you live on?
I'm on Chestnut. So.
Oh, you're on Chestnut. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your address, and what's the code to your lock?
And what's my social?
What's your social?
Just the last 4 numbers will do.
But, I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but, of course, what I was seeing was in the Market Street area, Tenderloin, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And there are guys out there shooting up.
Oh, broad daylight, shooting up, falling asleep on the sidewalk. So I just assumed it was this bad all over America, but apparently not.
What makes San Francisco such a magnet for this? Because obviously, it isn't like there's San Franciscans who are down on their luck, okay? It's people who have specifically come to San Francisco to shoot up, I guess, or to be impoverished. But I don't understand it.
Yeah, they give you needles, and it's not. I guess they're encouraging it. They're certainly not stopping it.
Well, you have
not working.
Passing out needles, I have nothing against because it does solve one big problem, and that's people dying in the streets. Okay, but I just, I mean, I wouldn't think they would pick San Francisco. If I were them, I would pick Los Angeles, where it's warmer most of the year.
L.A. is almost as bad now.
Well, San Francisco is not exactly the ideal city for sleeping.
Yeah, here you would freeze.
Well, you don't freeze. Freezing is living in New York during the winter, okay? You don't.
But it gets cold here.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I would go, oh, man, it's freezing outside. I didn't know freezing until I moved to New York, So, I mean, San Francisco is... What can we call it? It's damp. Okay, it's
very
moist.
Damp.
It's moist. Yeah, it's the fog and so on. It's a very moist atmosphere.
It's a great place to live if you're a mold.
If you're a mold. Remember that for your act. That's a great line. If you're a mold, it's great. Yeah, right. Hi, I'm penicillin. I live here.
Well, let's see. Part of the problem is I think the city gives $400 or $600 a month to every homeless person, so they get the cash. So that brings some of them in.
I don't disagree with that. On the other hand, I do disagree with it. I don't disagree with it because the people need some kind of substance to feed themselves and so on and so forth. But we know it's not going to that. And I just think that you're right, that does encourage them. And I think you should do everything to discourage people from sleeping in the street, shooting up in the street. I think what it is, does the city have the resources these days? Because it would seem to me that they've said, okay, on one hand, we could arrest all these people, but then we'd have to have them go to court, and we're going to have to put them up in jails and so on overnight. That's all going to cost us money, and we can't afford it. Is that the prevailing thought?
Well, they're spending. I think they spend $100 or $200 million a year on the homeless just for that problem alone.
Do you know what we just spent so
doing anything?
We spent so far in all these immigrants that the governors of Florida and Texas have sent to us? $4 billion.
Wow.
So, again, we're New York. $4 billion is what it takes to take care of the homeless people here, and the immigrants that enforced them on. Well, I don't know why we just don't sue Texas. Why we don't file charges against the governor of Texas for sending those people here in the first place, because it's wholesale kidnapping. So, but enough of our problems, because we've got some here. I don't go out that much, so to me, New York is still New York, okay? But supposedly, people always hear about people getting pushed into the subway by homeless people and things like that. But I don't see New York being that crime-ridden. Not like what they say San Francisco is, which is drugs, it's theft, it's all kinds of things. They say that the reason they're leaving Market Street and Union Street is they couldn't keep anything on the shelves. They were all being stolen, and nobody was being arrested for stealing it. Yeah,
well, they got the new law out here. If you steal something that's worth less than $950, it's not prosecutable.
Well, that I think it should be prosecutable. They could say, but don't go out of your way to arrest these people. I see. I understand some of that, but I think it's that the city doesn't want the cost of prosecuting all those people. That's it, basically. That's if you got enough people stealing, you're going to let you get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they don't have the money to prosecute you. If they started arresting everybody who even stole a gumball, you can bet that would all stop.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so how do you feel? I mean, you as a senior citizen, well, not yet, but you're heading towards senior citizen. At what point do you become a senior citizen?
Oh, no, I think we are. Yeah, I think, aren't you at 65?
65,
I think you're a senior citizen.
You're a senior citizen. Okay, you're a senior citizen. How do you feel about the streets at night? I mean, do you feel safe?
I wouldn't walk around them, no.
Okay, so you've got a car. See,
I got a car.
To begin with, New Yorkers don't have cars, right? If we have,
so them, I would definitely not use. Occasionally I used to use BART and Muni. I would not get on them anymore.
Really?
No, BART is down like from the pandemic. I think BART now has 30% of the ridership they used to have.
Really?
Yeah,
well, BART.
no one's on it.
In case you don't know, BART stands for Bay Area Rapid Transit. You know, and it travels all over the Bay Area, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, I mean, that's my city. I love my city. You know, I love my hometown. I love what it was. It was. I look at. Sometimes I see. What was it? We were watching this show called Chance, which was shot in San Francisco with. I'm trying to remember the guy's name now, but my mind is, of course, shot. Hugh Laurie. And I watched the show and I'm saying to Margie, oh, that's where I used to go live, or that's near where I used to live, or that's where, where probably the area where Bubbles lives, because they were talking about Cow Hollow in one case. And I'm watching it and I say, I so miss that city. I so love that city. I look at it and I just feel a feeling about that city that I don't think I've ever had for any other city that I've ever lived in my life. I mean, I had a romance going here with New York in the 70s, but that romance has turned into, boy, this is a boring city. But I really love San Francisco. There was something about the architecture, about the fog, about I can't even begin to tell people the visceral feeling you got from living in San Francisco. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was. When I started out doing comedy, it just seemed very romantic, running around the city, and it was a cool place.
It was a cool place, exactly. And great, things like Coit Tower. I grew up right in the shadow of Coit Tower. On my window, as I went to sleep every night, there was Coit Tower, And then I would fall asleep and dream the Coit Tower uprooted itself and came down to play with me.
Really?
Yeah. I later realized, of course, once I studied Freud, why I was so obsessed by Coit Tower. So,
Well, you know what Coit Tower is.
Well, it's supposed to be a fireman's nozzle, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, because Lily Hitchcock Coit used to go to the love the firemen. She just loved the firemen. Well, really loved the firemen. She would go to the what do you call it, the firehouses, and she would probably screw her way through them, But she also, the other thing is Lily Hitchcock Coit. She was just a fabulously wealthy person, wasn't she? Do you know who she was exactly?
I've just heard the name, yeah.
Yeah. Lily Hitchcock Coit liked to dress as a man and then go to men's functions, like stag parties and And a lot of because there were a lot of men's clubs in those days, and she would just dress up as a man and go to them. That was her big deal. But she loved the firemen of San Francisco, and as a tribute, she built this tower. It's an amazing piece of architecture.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like it in the world. Can you name any kind of structure that looks like that? Yeah.
No, it's got. I think it's got some fairly interesting murals inside.
Oh, inside it was during. It was built in 1933, I was told, and it was on the edge of the Depression, and they had the what do they call it, the WPA, the Work Projects Administration, and they paid artists to do their art. And one of the things an artist did, and I can't remember who the artist was all these fantastic murals on the first floor of Coit Tower. If you ever go to San Francisco, go to Coit Tower. It's just amazing, just amazing. So
I haven't been there in years. No, I'm going to go again. You got me. I need to see it.
Well, they have all those great murals, and then I one time in my whole life, and I lived on Telegraph Hill. I went up in the elevator and went to the top of Coit Tower, which you can do as well. And it's just, it's things like that San Francisco has that are so special. The Golden Gate Bridge, there's no other bridge in America or in the world that looks like that. You want to say San Francisco, you want to do a poster about San Francisco. If you don't have to put San Francisco on it. All you have to do is put a picture of that bridge. So, I mean, it's an amazing city. And to see it going to rack and ruin, and I'm sure it will come out the other side of this. It's not going to be like this always. But for the time being, it is. And that's sad. Because that's like spray painting on a Picasso. It's terrible.
Maybe we won't come. Maybe we're just heading towards this dystopia.
Well, you could be heading towards a dystopia, but I would imagine, maybe not in your lifetime, that all these problems will have gone away and gone somewhere else. But why they pick San Francisco, I have no idea. That's not a place to be homeless.
Yeah, I would pick a warmer place for sure.
And then what they brought up was that it's become literally the home of technology in this country. All the major companies have headquarters there or on the peninsula. Apple, for instance, has their big hub down in the peninsula. Cupertino. And in San Francisco, Twitter is the old
your old building.
Well, the old Furniture Mart where I used to do my programs every morning. We had our offices in that building on the ground floor. Had its own special entrance. So there was that. I just love that. I felt more when I lived there. I didn't care about it. When I was growing up there, I didn't care about it. I didn't think it was anything special. But then again, I didn't have to live anywhere else. All right. But then I left San Francisco and I went out across the country, working at various radio stations and so on, and Houston, Texas, and then Minneapolis, Minnesota, then finally New York, where I had a big love affair with the city here. And then this petered out, and I went back to San Francisco out of sheer desperation, and because somebody offered me an audition at a radio station. I was going to do a week for them. And after the week, this was at KMEL, they offered me a job. How lucky am I,
Wow.
I mean, and all of a sudden, I went across the Golden Gate Bridge one day, and I said, I always took this for granted. I've been across this bridge, 300-400 times, maybe more, maybe 1,000 times. And I've never appreciated it. And now I can look at either side of it and go, isn't that the most miraculous city I've ever seen in my life? And I fell in love with San Francisco again, And I often said I went back to San Francisco and became a success to get even. Because when I was a kid, everybody was giving me a bad time, and I couldn't find a job in San Francisco at a radio station. So they said, what you have to do is you have to leave San Francisco and go out and work elsewhere and work your way back to San Francisco. And I eventually worked my way all the way to New York, and there was no reason to come back to San Francisco because I was in the largest market in the United States. But eventually that kind of died, as most of parts of my career have, and I went to San Francisco. And all of a sudden I fell in love with it all over again, and you've been in love with it. You love that city, right?
Well, I don't like what it's become, no.
No, you don't like what it's become, but for many years you probably had a love affair with that city.
I did, especially in the early years of stand-up.
Yeah. And it was a great place for stand-ups. Why was it especially great for stand-ups? I mean, you had two major cities for stand-up. One was Boston, and then there was San Francisco. And it wasn't L.A., folks. That's where you went to go get into movies and television and things like that. But why do you think San Francisco became such a hub for comedy?
Well, there were so many funny people here, and then there were so many places that you could actually perform. So it was you could do 5 sets a night here when I started out. So.
In different clubs?
Yeah, there was, of course, a Punchline in the other cafe, but there was there was a bunch of one-nighters or just clubs that had open mic nights, and you could go from one to the other, and that's how you got good starting out. You just got to keep doing it.
What about the cost of living? Was it reasonable at that time for a comic?
Well, I can tell you, I kept a journal in 1987, or everything I spent in January of 1987, and including that trip to New York, I spent under $1,000.
Living in San Francisco, I mean.
My rent was $250.
Yeah.
I flew back. I had a follow-up audition in New York in January of '87, and I stopped and did that. And then the next day you were doing a show in New York that week.
Oh, right.
And I was on with Wendy Williams and Bob Guccione
Jr.
son, I think.
Junior, yeah. Wow, yeah. So, and that's when you did Letterman?
That's what I was doing. They kept looking at me to say, "Come back, we want to see you do another set." So I came back and did another set at Catch a Rising Star, and I remember that night there was some guy before me that went on and he didn't do well, and then he started screaming and yelling, and he ran off stage in the big commotion, and Robert Morton was there with me, and he goes, "Oh, that guy, he does that all the time." It was Larry David.
He just got up and left, walked off the stage?
Oh, he'd start screaming and not go, "Well, this is funny. What's wrong with you people?"
Well, there were years where people didn't find him funny. You know, he had a very oblique sense of humor.
That's a great word.
You know,
that's what Elvis said to Steve Martin.
What?
Steve Martin opened for Anne Margaret, and there's a story I saw somewhere, and Steve Martin was talking about it. He said that he opened for Anne Margaret in Las Vegas, and backstage Elvis came back and he walked over to Steve Martin and said, "Son, you have an oblique sense of humor."
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, and Steve Martin said that was actually the perfect word.
It's amazing. I just use that term. I've never used that term in my life to describe a comic. Wow.
Yeah, you see, you and Elvis think alike.
Me and Elvis, yeah. Well, when I get up to heaven with Elvis, you know. What was the joke? I'm trying to remember the whole joke, and I don't think I can remember it now sufficiently. But about a guy who dies and goes to heaven, and they go, "Well, you know, it's great up here. You're gonna, he goes to hell." And they said, "Don't worry, it's great down here. We got a great band. You're gonna love it." So he goes over and he goes to see the band, and there's like Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison and on and on and on and on and on. And he says, boy, this isn't hell. This is kind of like heaven. And all of a sudden, Jimi Hendrix goes, okay, 1, 2, 3, close to you. Down, down, down.
That's funny. I never heard that one.
Yeah. I think I didn't do justice to the joke, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I feel bad about San Francisco, and I don't feel like I necessarily want to go back there to live. Although
maybe it'll come back. It did. You were in New York in the 70s. I think New York was a hellhole then.
Oh,
apparently.
New York becomes a hellhole. It's becoming a hellhole again, but it goes back and forth, and it fixes itself, and it moves on. Hey, listen, want to talk next? Did you just hear me? I can't talk anymore. You want to talk next week?
We shall.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown, yay!
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, hello everybody. Here I am after, about a week, I guess, we haven't been on. Actually, I think it's been a week. A little more than that, but anyway, here we are, and very few people waiting to come on. So, I guess nobody really missed me. And I really, why am I even doing this, right? But anyway, there are a lot of people out there listening right now, and I'm sure what they want to do is to hear what went on with me in the last week. And people are saying, "Are you better?" And that's kind of a hard thing to say. Let me bring some people in here just so that we have them on the program and ready to go, and say hello to, let's see here, there's our good old friend Jeff Stein, and there's our good old friend, the lovely and attractive Josh Wheeler, and let me bring in Alan here. He's waiting to come on. There we go. I probably should explain what happened during the last week to me, and it was not a pleasant experience. For some reason, I think it was on Thursday night. I wasn't feeling well, and I didn't know what was exactly wrong with me, and I went to sleep that night, and I woke up the next morning, and I went and checked myself out, and I'm trying to remember. See, I'm trying to remember the dates now because it's kind of a little on the strange side. We had two friends who came in. Yeah, they came in to stay Friday night. Okay, and so Thursday I was kind of feeling iffy. Friday, I was feeling really somewhat out of it, and I'm trying to remember if I felt I had COVID or didn't have COVID, but I had a temperature, started having a temperature, and the people who were visiting us was Buddy Love and his wife Rachel, and I'm just so lucky that Rachel happens to be a doctor, which is, the best of all possible things if you feel you're not feeling well. And she says, "You got a temperature?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, well," I said, "Maybe I should take one of my, we have 80,000 COVID tests in the house. Maybe I should use one of them." So I went and I took the COVID test, and I came up positive for COVID. Well, luckily, there's a doctor in the house, okay? So she calls down. Oh, I know what it was. It was Friday night that I wasn't feeling well. It was Saturday while they were here that they, because I remember that we on Saturday had to call up to the drugstore, which was only open till 1:30 in the afternoon. But anyway, she said, she immediately handed me a mask, okay? And I was feeling really crappy. I had a hard time sleeping the night before. And then she immediately called down to my pharmacy and ordered me up some Paxlovid. So somebody went down and got it for me, and luckily we had a doctor in the house. But boy, was I feeling like crap. I mean, just really not well. And I can't figure it out because we still don't know how I got it. You know, we have no idea how I got it. Marjorie didn't come down with it. You know, she avoided it. I mean, as soon as she heard that I had it, I was then like a leper. And I was told to go to the guest room and stay there for the rest of my life and not come out until I don't sneeze, cough, or feel like crap anymore. So I went and I stayed in the other room, you know, and I didn't come out to see many people. I would come out and see them, but I'd wear a mask and they wear their masks. And it was just lucky that I had a doctor here, because otherwise maybe I would have had to wait till the end of the weekend to get the Paxlovid. I was pretty ill for, I would say, until about last, I think Wednesday was the first day I was feeling halfway decent. But I have kind of this fatigue from having it. And by the way, if you're listening, all you folks out there at YouTube, and your algorithms are going to work, don't give me a warning or give me a strike because I'm talking about the fact that I got COVID. You know. I thought about that as a possibility if I talked about that tonight. In which case, you know, YouTube can go fuck themselves. But I was really quite sick. The first time I got it, I hardly got it at all, and then I got the Paxlovid before it really had caught hold. So that's how that turned out. All right. But so I didn't. But I felt a lot worse this time than I did the last time, and it was pretty terrible. And I still feel tired, weak, you know. And I may do only one show again next week. I don't know. It's going to be able to. I'm going to have to tell by. I'm going to do the Monday show, and then we'll see how I'm feeling as to whether how many shows I do again next week, because I still have, what do you call it? What do they call COVID, post-COVID, whatever? I don't know, you know, where you're tired and you're exhausted. And
long COVID,
yeah, long haul. I mean,
it takes more than a couple weeks before you know.
Well, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything that's even close to having an opinion about the disease, okay? Because I don't want those assholes at YouTube saying that we're giving out bad information. All right, so just stay away from that.
Okay.
You know.
I think you'll feel better next week, and that's not a medical opinion. That's a personal.
No, from what I've read, usually there's maybe a 2 to 3 week period afterward where you still feel kind of crappy. You know, it's not 100%.
It's like the flu, but can be worse, of course.
It didn't feel like the flu. It felt more like something else. I mean, I couldn't figure it out. My breathing was difficult. There was a whole bunch of things going to work while I was trying to sleep that night. That was just not. Something was not right, you know. And I actually had a really complete case of COVID. And where I got it, we have no idea.
This was worse than the first time you had it?
Well, that's what I said. The first time I hardly had it at all.
Right.
I don't know if I even really had it, okay? I tested positive, but I didn't feel it or anything like that. Here, I felt it. You know, it was terrible. Been terrible. But the funny part about it is, as I say again, you know, the night before I really came down with it heavy, I kissed Marjorie goodnight. You know, we slept in the same bed together. I'm breathing on her, all of that. She didn't come down with it. But I came down with it and have no idea where I got it from. You know, because I don't go out that much. I think we had gone to a restaurant to have some lunch or something. But if I got it, she should have gotten it, right? but
Not necessarily.
yeah, but not necessarily. So, anyway, she didn't get it, but man, did she treat me like a leper once I got it. You know, like stay away from me, go stay in the other room, don't breathe. I would actually be like, 12 feet from her. She's in the bed, and I'm in the hallway, and I've got my mask on, and she's got her mask on, and I'd move 1 inch closer into the bedroom. Don't do that. Don't. It was like it was very, very, very interesting, to tell you the damn truth. But
we're happy that you're back and you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling somewhat better. You know, I tried to avoid doing anything that was Gabnet related, except for posting a few shows when people did shows, because I just didn't want to, do anything that would put a strain on me. And yet I had all kinds of stuff being put a strain on me. Certain individual with his program had problems. And
Not last night. You couldn't be talking about that.
What?
Jack. Last night with his program, I don't know.
Well, he's thinking of stopping doing his program. So
yeah, so he says.
Yeah. Well, no, he's informed me he wants to.
Okay.
So we'll. I think we have Josh waiting in the wings. All right. So, that's always a possibility. But no. He told me today he wants to not do it. I said, could you give me 2 months to figure out what I'm going to do? And he said yes. And then he wrote me another note saying, can you let me know a date definite? And I wrote him back and said, listen, you said I had 2 months to figure this thing out, But if you want to stop it, tonight's a good night to stop it, I mean,
we're incapacitated.
I was incapacitated, and I wrote him back and said, just don't. He had some problems with small problems, not big ones. But we've had very little problems with his doing the show and everything and getting it through. And last night, couple of nights ago, he had a problem or something like that. And that was fine. But I wrote him and I said, please, I don't want to have to deal with this. I'm just coming off of COVID, and I don't want to know about it. He didn't even say, oh, sorry to hear you had COVID. It was just, well, wait a minute, I've got yet another problem, And I don't want, it's funny. It's hard to deal with those things when another side effect of COVID is you can't deal with that crap. You really can't.
Anytime you're sick, you don't want to.
How many here have had COVID? Am I the only one? You've had it, right? So you know what I'm talking about, Josh.
Oh yeah.
Even the small things, like your wife says, I can't get a certain channel on the cable, and you just don't want to do it. You just want to lie there and heal in your pool of sweat.
Yeah, she had it at the same time as I did too, so we were both there.
Well, I wish Marjorie had gotten it, because then we could have stayed in the same room together for this.
Yeah, right. We didn't have to,
Instead, I felt like I was in a cell. I was in my little cell. The jailer will come by and see you occasionally and see if you're okay and you haven't tried to hang yourself.
Food under the door.
Yeah. So it's not easy. Yes, Jeff.
I talked to my Connecticut source, who talked to Marjorie. That's Pam and Marjorie. We're talking about how you're doing, about every day or every other.
Oh, really? That was very nice.
Checking you. Yeah, you were alive.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't particularly
really crappy, but
I wasn't cranky or anything. I just. Oh, did she say I was cranky?
Jeff just threw you under the bus.
No, he threw Marjorie under the bus.
Oh, well, okay, Marjorie. Oops.
By the way, do not take, and none of this is opinion on COVID and fake cures or anything like that. So, and I'm sure I'll still get bounced for it. You watch.
I'm
for
so
talking
happy
about it?
that you're feeling better.
For talking about the fact that I had COVID and relating that to people, I'm just saying that don't screw around if you get it. It's still out there, And I think that maybe we become a little too loosey-goosey about the way we are handling this situation. Our mayor has said, the crisis is all over with, and the president has gone, the crisis is all over with, and that's the official word. But I still got it. So, you know, I mean, to me, it isn't over with.
The medical community is not saying it's over with.
Right. But, you know, so, I mean, it was pretty rough go. Not easy at all. But do you say you had it, Vernon? No, you didn't have it. Who else said they had it besides
Josh?
Just Josh and me.
You and Josh.
Oh, well, Josh, let's start coughing. You know. I honestly believe the reason we only have like 5 people here right now is that everybody else is afraid to call because they might get COVID.
Now that is not, you shouldn't, that'll get you canceled. Yeah. So,
you know, but I'm you know, I'm on the mend, and you know, it was I was even debating whether to come on tonight, and then I just went, it would be good for me to do it, so here I am. But do I don't look sick, do I?
no,
No.
you look fine.
You know, the only other problem is, you know what doesn't go away? COVID goes away, pollen doesn't.
Oh boy, that hit me hard this year.
Oh, it's supposedly this is a really bad year for it.
God,
Yeah.
I'm living 24 hours a day on these antihistamines.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't work for me. I just suffer with it, you know.
Take more.
Especially does my eyes. My eyes get all puffy. And
What do
everything.
you take? Just out of curiosity.
I take a Paxlovid for
No. I'm talking about for your allergies.
I take if I get a hernia, I take Paxlovid. You know, you take it for anything. No, I just have some eye drops, anti-itch eye drops that I use, and I also use like a phony version of Flonase from Costco, but that never seems to work.
No, I take it all the time. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I started taking Zyrtec, this
Yeah.
second generation stuff that's supposed to not make you drowsy, and it doesn't make me drowsy. It doesn't work. So I talked to my allergist, and he said, don't take 10 milligrams like they suggest. Take 20, 30, up to 40, and you'll be just fine. So I'm at 30, and everything's fine.
Really? I haven't tried Zyrtec. I've never really tried that.
You can get it at Costco under their brand for cheap. So
It's called Faux Zyrtec or something.
whatever they call
Hey,
it.
Patrick.
Hi.
Hi. He wrote me some very nice notes, hoping I was okay. And, you know, he just wants to make sure that I'm still alive. You know, it's.
I don't know.
And I added a threat too. I said if you weren't going to get better, I was going to come give you a kiss. And that still holds, so
Yeah.
you better start really getting better by next week.
Kevin wrote me a lot. Who else wrote me? Vernon, did you write me? I think you did. Or maybe,
Alan wrote you.
Alan wrote me. Yep.
Yeah, he sent you a text.
Yep. So, you know, I mean, it was just something that you don't want to get, folks. It's not fun, and it's still out there. So be careful anyway. I'm sure if you walk down the street and stuff like that, it's not a big problem. But if you go into a restaurant, well, you can't go into a restaurant and wear a mask, because how are you going to eat? Okay. But I find that if I'm going to use a mask when I go to the grocery store and so on, you know, places.
I haven't stopped.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I got loosey-goosey because they said it was okay to get loosey-goosey, and look what happened, you know. So just do all the precautions, folks, that one needs to do. I won't tell you what they are, because I may get them wrong, and then YouTube, the bastards that they are, will then give me. See, I got a warning last time. The next time, I'm actually going to get a what's it called? I don't know, a punishment or whatever.
It'll take 2 years for him to catch up with you anyway.
Yeah, right. You're right. The last one was 2 years later.
God,
You know.
yeah.
And by the way, there was a show. The identical show was also up, and they didn't ding that one. But there were two versions of it up, and both of them had the same stuff being talked about. None of which, by the way, was misinformation, as they claim. But, you know, they do everything by algorithms and so on. Hey, Tony!
How you feeling?
You know what it's time to do before we go any further? Clean your lens.
It's an old computer, though, I think. I think that's why the camera's not that good.
Well, but I think if you actually took a piece of tissue...
Is that bad? Let me see. Really? Here's the little eye.
Let me see here.
Oh, much better. Much better.
It's an old computer.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
100% better. Because
really.
He never
I
cleans...
thought it was more like a glamour shot.
Yeah, one of those glam lenses. Yeah.
Imagine if you clean the windows to the house, you could see outside, too.
I got the guys painting up here tomorrow. Again, that continuing work.
Painting over the wallpaper.
No, actually, this is staying up. They're doing the ceiling. It's just touching it up, really.
Yeah. Do you have a brick house, by the way?
Yeah, it's all brick.
Okay, so how often do you have to do the pointing on it?
Oh, actually, that's a good question. My brother did the pointing. I think he had to ask him in the roof I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago he did it.
Oh, really? They did the whole house?
Yeah,
all the bricks?
they were outside. Yeah, because my mother was still alive, so she's only gone 2 years. So it had to be about 3 years. I remember doing it. It took them a while.
Because they were drilling and putting all this stuff in between the bricks.
They were making a lot of noise. I remember my father passed away.
That's pretty expensive, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot. It wasn't cheap. I know that. I know it took them a while. It was noisy because she was complaining. Oh, they're making. So how long is it going to take? Merle's like, they gotta do this. He said. So we did it, and so it had to be. She's gone 2 years, so it had to be about 3.5 years ago.
Really?
I remember them being here, Alex, like 2 weeks. I remember them, maybe less than that. I have to ask him.
Mine has taken like 2.5, 3 years so far in this apartment house.
I bet you got 8 stories. A little bigger.
What? What'd you say, Vernon?
I said you're 8 stories tall.
Yeah,
that's right. Your house is bigger.
That's true. But they've got like the courtyards finished, and they still haven't taken down all that scaffolding, and that's what I hate. That's what I want to see gone. You know, is the scaffolding.
That way they'll chase off all the homeless people, right?
Well, I call it the scaffolding around the apartment house the homeless shelter, because that's where all the homeless people. Yeah.
You're right, Alex. I see a lot of those. My brother goes into work in Manhattan every day, and he sees a lot of the buildings all like getting worked on more and more.
There are more of them, and there are more of them in this town right now. I mean,
that's what he said. It's amazing how much work is getting done. I was like, really?
I want the business I want to be in when I die, and then I get reincarnated, and then I have to find another line of work than this because you can't come back twice as a broadcast celebrity.
Well, you never know, man. You go up here, it makes you come back.
Not allowed to. So I want to come back as a guy who owns a scaffolding company.
Oh, they must clean up.
I found out, they got these scaffolds. They got the one all the way around the apartment house. You know how much they pay a month for that?
How much?
$50,000 a month.
Holy shit!
And it's been up for 3 years now.
Oh man, that's a lot of money.
It's time to raise the tenants' rents.
Well, I guess so. Except mine, they can't. So,
well, given what it's for, their insurance is probably $45,000 a month. So I don't know.
Well, who knows? I mean,
never know.
No, but you're required to put those scaffoldings up because if you're doing work, they don't want all the hammers and stuff to fall on people and stuff like that. So, but it looks ugly. I want it to be over with so I can have at least this apartment house back in some shape, So, but be that as it may, your girlfriend Patrick had COVID recently as well.
Her son.
Her son got it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. I'm beginning to think maybe it's not as virulent as it was initially. The original version was just killer. I mean, it had to be. I mean, I went over to Mount Sinai, and they literally had tents outside Mount Sinai to take care of the overflow. And
they had refrigerated trucks because people were dying.
That was very morbid. The refrigerated trucks. Yeah.
They did it in Los Angeles too.
Huh?
They did it in Los Angeles.
Oh, they did it all over the country. I mean,
Yeah.
the impact was
Yeah.
incredible. But, the social toll that it took on this country is just amazing.
Yep.
But anyway, so we, by the way, the most delightful thing of the week for me, at least when I was sick, I was lying there kind of coughing and whatever. I had coughs. What did I have? I had a cough.
Did you have the chills, Alex, too? Was it
I did, though. I had a temperature around, up around 100. All right.
Yeah, it's still a temperature.
And then one night, I'm lying there in bed, and all of a sudden I felt the back of my neck, and my entire shirt was sopping wet.
You had the sweats.
And I went to sleep that night, and I woke up sopping sweatshirt or t-shirt, and no temperature. Just
you sweated it out.
Sweated it right out. That is the greatest thing when you've got some kind of a temperature, and then you start sweating it out. And
That's
you
what
wake up in a
Alex.
pool of sweat, and you go take your temperature, and it's down to like 97.6 or something like that. You just go, that's okay. That's all right so far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, she used to say that, like bung me up, like sweat it out.
What?
Fever is the body's way of healing itself. And so if you have a low-grade fever of 100 or something like that, if you can tolerate it, it's good not to try and lower it with whatever.
Well, what I did,
things my mother told me.
Well, here was what I was told by a doctor. Told me this. He suggested using Tylenol, not using aspirin, since aspirin's not as good for your stomach.
Yeah, Tylenol.
But take about 4 Tylenol, and then drink lots of water.
Liquid, yeah.
And then get under the covers, more covers than you need, and just let yourself sweat it out overnight. And the next morning, you'll have a normal temperature again. So.
My mother used to take a lot of the quilts, and if I had a temperature, she would really tighten me up with it, and then she'd say, sleep with it.
Yeah.
And then unless you got to go to the bathroom, get up. If not,
stay.
Many times you must have to take it off around your neck, though, right?
You're trying to kill me. Mom, I can't breathe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, take your hands off my neck, Mom. Please.
The pillow, is it supposed to be on my neck?
No, but I used to do that when I had
But you did say that
when I had a temperature and was sick. I would do exactly that. I would take the Tylenol and then drink like 4 or 5 glasses of water, a lot of water.
She used to say stay liquid, leave it by my bed,
and then just cover myself up so I would sweat, and I sweated it out overnight. Yes, Vernon.
Did you ever figure out where you caught it from? Because you never leave your apartment.
I know.
I wonder how you got that. That's what I didn't get.
We go up the street occasionally to this place called Harlem Tavern, and they have a very good hamburger up there, and I like to have a hamburger there, and we went there. That's not the only place we went, and
maybe you got it up
maybe
there.
I got it from somebody having lunch up there,
Probably, yeah.
But Marjorie didn't get it. That's the point.
That's weird. You're in the same house.
We kiss each other.
I wonder if she's immune to it now. Maybe her body built up an immunity.
What?
Maybe her body built up an immunity to it.
No, I don't. There's no immunity to. There's no
Yeah,
immunity.
she may have better antibodies just because she's different.
Well, she had a worse version of COVID than I did before, so maybe it created a certain amount of immunity. I don't know.
Right.
For whatever reason, she was lucky and fortunate she didn't get it. But the way she was treating me like a leper, I
heard you were saying.
I was hoping she would get it. Okay.
You should have breathed on it. Come after you with Lysol.
Because
now we know to get news from Jeff.
Jeff's got the scoop.
Even though Pam says don't say anything, Jeff will still tell us.
Well, our doctor, who actually made a house call here, technically made a house call.
Yeah.
Our doctor said, and after 5 days, she said, you probably won't have the temperature or any of the symptoms anymore. You don't have to, wear a mask in the house or whatever. But if you go out, still wear a mask for about a week.
But funny you said that, Alex. I'm going to Kiefer, which is close to the house. I'm seeing a lot more people wearing masks in my neighborhood. I see more masks being worn again.
Well, I
think maybe because of the weather, it's getting nice out.
I think a lot of people are getting it.
The allergies.
A lot of allergies around the country, Tony.
Yeah, it does help with allergies.
Helps.
I should wear it then. If my allergies get bad from the pop from the
wear it when you're outside. It'll help your allergies.
Yeah. So anyway, Patrick, how you been?
I've been all right. Just enjoying sort of decent weather around here.
Yeah.
Been outside a lot, just enjoying that. And waiting for new wheels for my wheelchair because the tread had worn down.
What are you getting? Those Hot Wheels? Those Hot Wheels wheels?
I have a big
Well, the brake don't catch on the wheels anymore, so it's time.
Oh, the brakes don't catch on the wheels.
Yeah, the brakes have a pattern on them, so that when they connect to the wheel, the tread and the pattern on the brake, they prevent each other from moving. So
do you just have to put new tires on there, or do you have to put...
Yeah, the new rubber part of the tire, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be getting those next week or so. I mean, it's dangerous enough that I can't drive now because transferring in and out of the car becomes somewhat of a gymnastic feat because the chair kind of moves a little bit as I try to get into it. So rather than landing on my ass and having an issue, I haven't driven in a couple of weeks while I'm waiting for the tire to show up. So
they give you a ticket for that shit or what?
What's that?
Will they give you a ticket for that shit or what?
Yeah, your brakes don't work. You've got to.
No, you're the tread on your tires. I mean, you got to go get a fix-it ticket and all that shit.
They're standardized. I mean, it's just like going for your tire for your car. It's
what do you get, Michelin's or Goodyears?
You're so cold, Kevin.
Firestone.
Firestone?
No, Schwinn.
You get some good ones, dude.
Schwinn.
Yeah.
Patrick, do you have to pay for the tires?
I'd complain if they're not lasting you, Pat. I mean, shit.
Well, I'm paying for them out of pocket this time because waiting for insurance.
Right.
I won't get them until 21 June.
Oh.
You need to get some good steel belted ones or something.
Racing slicks.
Not lasting you, dude.
When it's snowing, do you have chains for that at all?
Shit, I wish.
Toss irons.
See, the problem for me is I don't weigh enough. So, like for snow, I slide around. If I was heavier, you have the weight to keep you down as you push. But no winter, no snow tires.
Well, when you're in Wisconsin, don't they fucking spike the tires and shit like they do with the cars? Can't you go out and give them spikes?
Well, let me ask you something.
They put on chains.
When I
do
used
that here in the snow.
When I used to live in, where was it? Klamath Falls, Oregon. You were allowed to have tires up there with spikes. Studded snow tires.
Yeah, you do that up, in Oregon or wherever. You can carry.
I don't think you can do it in California. It's against the law in California.
Yeah, because they said it eats up the pavement.
Yeah, but the thing is, do they still make tires that are studded snow tires? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I love those. The reason I loved them is because I didn't have to put goddamn chains on my car.
Yeah, well, my buddy up in Oregon used to have me add a set of spiked tires up in his garage, and whenever it got snowy towards the winter, he'd throw them onto his truck or whatever.
Well, I had to put some chains.
That would heat up your gloves, though.
On
I
our
see
honeymoon,
why you don't do that.
On our honeymoon, right after we got married at Lake Tahoe, it was a terrible snowstorm. We had to get out of there, and so I had to buy a set of chains and have them put on the car. And as I'm driving with the chains, I look over at Marjorie and I say, God, now I know what it was I hated about chains on snow tires, on tires. And she said, what? I said, it's like wearing a condom.
Yep.
It's the same effect, basically.
Pretty much. You can only go 25 miles an hour.
Exactly.
I used to have to put them on the semi. Yep. They were a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly.
22-inch tires.
Yeah, and then it turned out the snow only went so far, and I got rid of them after 25 miles, and I had to pay like $100 for the chains.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can you imagine what chains cost for a semi?
Oh well,
Yeah,
I don't even want to.
they're expensive.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, and putting them on must be hell.
They're
Oh,
a pain
yeah.
in the ass.
I'll bet.
Did you put them on yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
Put them on the duals, on the
You
dual
lay
wheels.
them. You lay them on the ground and then drive over them and snap them up.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
The other way
And
is
they
to
fly off, and then you get pissed off, and you
yeah,
know.
yeah, but it's not that horrible.
But you're not having to do it. That's why it's not that.
I know, but
Yeah.
But I here in New York, they don't have. I don't think they have studded snow tires, do they, Tony?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really drive, so I don't know. So
In New York,
I'd have
they
to check on
salt everything, don't they? Salt.
I mean, I know the sanitation trucks used to have. You mean like I know the sanitation trucks used to have the chains on them. I know that when they used to do the salting.
Okay, so
I thought they had them back there because those roads back there are all concrete, aren't they?
Yeah.
They scrape them all the time.
well, they kept saying that the studded snow tires would hurt the asphalt, but what the hell are chains going to do?
Hurt the asphalt.
Exactly.
Yeah. What a
or the snow plows. I mean, that great thing around here is, and I know I've had this conversation with people, replacing roadways, like in my state,
Yeah.
they should just replace them again with concrete versus asphalt, because every couple of years they have to repave the same roads, and it's because of snow plows where, in the summer the asphalt will buckle just a little bit and it's no big deal during the summer, but during the winter when a plow hit that, it'll pull out a chunk of asphalt.
Once the rain gets under it, it just starts.
And then it 6 inches deep, and then they're out
like
there
a scab.
trying to fill this in 30 below zero weather so that they don't have accidents, and that shit doesn't stay.
It's called cold patch.
Yeah, it can't bond, so it's just garbage. And so we can't use chains or studded tires on the main roadways around here.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this week I guess the best news that I got was that wonderful send-off of the governor of Florida. What's his name? DeSantis. DeSantis. His what can we call it? His kickoff show
on Twitter.
Yes,
that was funny.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And of course, they're trying to say so many people were trying to get on that caused a problem. No, it's that company's being run so badly now they can't have even a small amount of people trying to get on at a time.
Elon Musk is backing him.
He's not backing him. He didn't say that. No, what he said was what he's backing is the opening of dialogue, that everybody should be able to have a dialogue, and that he was simply encouraging it.
The whole thing failed.
And then the whole thing failed. So
I'm waiting to see the circus between DeSantis and Trump.
I don't know if it's going to be much of a circus. I think what they're all waiting for, they're all sitting around waiting for. Excuse me, my nose is just itching something horrible. I think their problem is that they see that they want to sit out and wait it out and see what happens to Trump, because they feel if he gets in any real trouble, they then have a shot. Okay, and that could happen any day now. Yes, Patrick.
I don't think anything's going to prevent him from running.
No.
Unless he's in jail. So I'm waiting for Christie to get in, and not that he's going to run, that he has a chance, but he's as much of a, what's a nice way to put it, asshole.
Oh,
as
that's a technical term, by the way, in case people aren't familiar with it, referring to a person who is not particularly liked. Go ahead.
So anyway, I think that Chris Christie would give back to Trump exactly what he would give. And even on a stage with multiple people, I think Chris Christie would be there just to be the one, to be the bulldog, to keep hammering on Trump, to keep him teetering. I mean,
Yeah, well, I would never vote for Chris Christie, but there are certain elements about Chris Christie I like, and part of it is what you're talking about. That he's the kind of guy that can take on Trump and not let him get away with anything, not steal the show, okay? And that's one of the things I like about him.
Yeah, I do like his.
He thinks quickly on his feet.
Yeah,
He's smart. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a smart guy. Yeah,
And if not pressed to be serious, can be very funny.
yeah. He's got a. You know, he calls the sports talk shows a lot.
Well,
He calls,
Yeah, he likes
and he's actually really. I know it's gonna sound crazy. I like him,
The
Alex.
best thing
It's
I
part
ever
of
saw
I like
him
him.
do is when he went on the Letterman show. He came out and he sat down, and Letterman was going to give him a big ration of crap, because he'd making nothing but fun of him for months ahead of time. And Chris Christie says, "Oh, wait a minute," and he puts his hand in his pocket and pulls out a sandwich. And starts eating it. And I said, if for nothing more, he might get my vote for that.
I like. There's something about him I like. I don't know what it is. Maybe
No,
that's
he
what
has
it
a
is.
sense of humor, and he's somewhat affable, but he's basically a crook, just like all the rest of them.
Yeah, because he did have that whole bridge thing.
He
had to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if we're going to be a country full of crooks, at least let's have guys who put in a few laughs here and there, and punctuate it with laughs. So, what do you think's happening with DeSantis, Josh? Do you figure, to begin with, do you think he's got a shot?
I don't know. I really don't think so.
He's not very likable.
No, not outside of his own little stage there, he's just like that, local celebrity that, if they try to transplant it somewhere else, it's people are,
in other words,
it's wildly popular in its home club or whatever, and then it goes on the road and people are like, well, what's this?
It's an act that doesn't work well out of town.
Yeah, it seems like that, and I don't think some sort of partnership with Elon Musk is a good idea.
I think it was a bad idea for Musk. I mean, come on, he's got all these companies that he doesn't want to alienate people.
And I don't, particularly, and Musk has been giving him money and is supporting him, and I'm a little bit on the fence with this, but I don't completely think it's appropriate for someone who gets as many government contracts as he does to be doing that.
No, I think he should. If I were giving him advice, I would say, Elon, stay away from politics.
Yeah, I mentioned to these guys the other day, that's, if George Soros had a podcast, for example, and let a presidential candidate kick off on his podcast, Republicans would lose their mind, and he doesn't even get government contracts that I'm aware of. Just imagine if he owned some kind of business that got billions of dollars worth. I think people would have, a problem with that. Like I said, I'm not making a huge deal about it. I don't think it should be against the law or anything.
Yeah, but I don't think
I just don't like it.
I don't think Musk was necessarily touting DeSantis. I think what he was doing was trying to tout Twitter.
Yeah, because I don't really believe that Musk is interested in an open dialogue, because I think in his heart Musk is a fascist like the rest of them. So I don't think he's interested in anything like that. I think he's interested in making money. And I assumed that he thinks there was some pathway there to make money. It would be my assumption.
Well, something, you've got a guy like Musk who is, we have to admit, very bright, a very smart man. Yep. Especially when it comes to things scientific. That doesn't mean that he isn't a savant, and in a lot of other things, very stupid. And in this particular case, I think pretty damn stupid, because I don't think you want to, when you're making cars that you're trying to sell to everybody, and now you're becoming this conservative. I would have bought a Tesla tomorrow if I had to buy a car, an electric car. But now that he's done this, I would never think of buying a Tesla. Never.
Yeah, I don't know about DeSantis's outlook. I mean, to me, it just doesn't seem that great, because he's just like ultra to, the extremes of that political realm, and I don't know how he appeals to anyone outside of it. And outside, I mean, if every single person in that realm voted for him, that's not enough to win the presidential election. I mean, it just makes him a wildly popular person within a party that lost. I mean, to me, so I don't see where he expands out into, changing the minds of people who tend to, switch parties or independents or whatever you want to call them. But I mean, it's obvious that, most people that are on this panel, for example, or whatever, would never even consider voting for him. So, but that's not what he's looking for. What he has to look for to get elected is, some of those folks in the middle. And I don't know. I just don't see how he appeals to them, really. And
I think the problem with DeSantis is he's basically had a charisma bypass.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no qualities that even have doesn't even look like he's happy about anything.
Yeah, and he also comes across to me, from what I hear, as another guy who doesn't really have any plans or policies or beliefs or whatever. He just kind of says whatever's in the moment that he thinks people will shake their head up and down on.
He's a reactionary, just like Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's mostly into stuff that isn't really issues.
Patrick's got his hand up, and then Alan.
I would say this. I think DeSantis has more of an appeal for the Republicans that have given up on Trump, because he doesn't have the same asshole qualities as Trump. He may not have the charisma that Trump does to bullshit you, but he seems to have. I know I've heard, and I know this is just a little microcosm where I live, but like on talk radio, we've had a number of women call into the various shows, and they prefer DeSantis over Trump because he doesn't have the bristling qualities that Trump has. He's a little bit more.
Well, I think the kind of the thing you're kind of trying to get at, and I think it's something we avoid when we're talking about Trump, is basically he's just a circus act. Basically he's doing show business. He's doing a reality show. He's not really a politician. I mean, I defy people to tell me what Trump's political opinions are. I mean, I've never seen any discernible opinions coming out of that man's mouth. It's all putting people down and keep calling people names, and basically he's doing all the stuff he learned doing The Apprentice. Basically, yeah. Yes, Alan.
So DeSantis said yesterday that if he's elected president, he will pardon all the people that are getting convicted for the January 6th thing.
Oh, well, then I'm going to vote for him. Boy.
Yeah, that's what I thought. What an asshole.
I mean, he's playing too much to the wrong band. Okay?
Yep.
Well, they're playing to the right band.
Well, but that's a small group. I mean,
it is a small group, but the thing is, we're still a year out from all of this shit, and he needs to start now if he's going to get some of the Trump people that are done with Trump, because there's a lot of people that are upset with Trump that he didn't support these people that are getting jailed and that, and they feel like they're getting the raw end. We put our lives, so to speak, on the line for you, and where are you in support of us?
But still, that's,
now we're all losers. And
but still, that's a handful of people.
It is, but if you
know.
start small, and I mean, it's the same with Trump. Trump didn't have the whole fucking country right away. It took a while, and I think DeSantis is trying to do that out of the same place.
Well, Trump got to the front of the pack, not by anything else, but by playing the media for all they had.
Oh, sure.
You know, I mean, they gave him so much free publicity that he didn't even need to take ads out. You know, and on the other hand, DeSantis doesn't know how to play that game. He had to go out and get $200 million the last couple of days to try and, launch his campaign. Trump wouldn't need a penny. Okay, all Trump has to do is make some kind of statement on Truth Social that's completely ridiculous, and he's going to get all the publicity he needs.
Yeah, but that's mostly because of Trump's history. He's always been like that, and he'll always get that.
Yeah, but I do agree. He didn't have to spend.
DeSantis is just competing with that.
I mean, he won the presidency, I think, without really expending very much money.
What's that?
He managed to win the election back in 2016.
Well, yeah, he
without spending.
Because he stirred up so much shit over the years that the media flocks to him.
I mean, every day they would be on the air with, guess what Trump said today? Guess what he said?
He doesn't have to pay for it because the media are just
But DeSantis doesn't know how to. DeSantis doesn't know how to do that, and DeSantis is also living under another misapprehension, and that is that because he's so big in Florida, all right, that everybody in the country knows who he is. No, they only know about who he is in Florida.
Right.
And that's
about it. Pay for it to find out who he is.
Yeah,
more and more people in Florida are calling him the Disney hater.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Disney on his case.
Yeah, well, that Disney thing is probably could come back to really bite him in the ass.
Hurt him too. So he's fighting two different things.
Yeah. And believe me, I got to tell you, if it's Mickey Mouse versus DeSantis, Mickey Mouse is going to win.
Yeah, I was going to say Mickey wins all the time, and all those old people are going to hate DeSantis.
And I'll tell you, the only guy who's more obstinate than he is Bob Iger.
So Disney unveiled the 8th dwarf. It's a
I saw it. Did you see it?
Picture of DeSantis, and it's called Wokey.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you, Alex, later.
Is that Disney who did that, or somebody?
Somebody
online
that did. I'll send it to you. It's a cute little.
Got a pamper on. You see it or something?
Yeah. Wokey. I like that. I like that. That's a good name. That's a real good name.
It was just sent to you in text. I don't know anybody else's text.
I think we're losing Jeff. No, you still awake?
Still awake.
You've been out in the sun, haven't you?
Yeah, you got red as an
A
apple.
little bit.
Yeah. No wonder you're drowsy. I get drowsy if I get too much sun, and I come back with a sunburn.
But most of the redness is right here, and so do you have rosacea?
Yeah, I've been getting some of that.
I have.
Be careful, Jeff.
Wait till you get to my age. I just got it last year too. They have creams you can put on that once or twice a day.
Yeah, I have rosacea, and I went to a guy. He charged me, I don't know, a couple $100 to see him, and then he sold me some of his cream in his office. All it did was irritate.
I could have gave you that for free. Well, that's so much.
It irritated the skin. It didn't help it at all.
I look like a chalkboard. Wouldn't you buy all these?
No. The cream that works the best is cream that's made with Flagyl, the antibiotic, and it's very easy on most people's faces.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this guy didn't give me anything like that.
Of course not. He gave you something with sandpaper.
Well, also, what I have here, he said to me, part of the problem I have here, if you can see, I have some redness up there. He said, it's like dandruff. It's the same thing as dandruff. And really, he said, you should probably use dandruff shampoo right on your forehead and keep it there for about 5 minutes. And that will help it. anyway, I don't go back to this doctor anymore because he didn't help the problem at all. So, you know. And I hope that I don't get demonetized by YouTube because I talked about how to clear up rosacea. You know?
Well, rosacea, you need to stay out of the sun or wear. After you put the rosacea medication on, you need to put on sunblock.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, listen, I'm playing the theme. I know because you can't hear it. I'm telling you that I'm playing it. Hey, thank you all for being here. Did you miss me?
Yeah, we missed you. Don't worry.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I missed you guys too. I'll try and see if I can do a show. I'm going to do a show on Monday. I'm going to do the Monday show, and then maybe I'll try and see if I can do. I'll be here at least next Friday, but I'll see also if I can do Wednesday and Thursday as well. So, anyway, I want to thank Jeff. I want to thank Josh. I want to thank Alan. I want to thank our good friend Kevin and Vernon Nunn. Thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure. Patrick, whenever you call us, it's a joy, okay? And the same is true of you, Tony. Nice seeing you, too. Everybody, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, folks. There they go. Let me see here. There we go. Okay, thank you. At least it's still working here, doing all the flipping and stuff that I have to do. Anyway, we'll see you again on Monday. With the pop-up show, and then hopefully we'll be back to do a show on at least Wednesday of next week, but we'll let you know. Stay tuned on the Facebook page, and we'll say when we're doing shows and not doing shows and things like that. In the meantime, in between time, as always, we'll be back next time, same station in life, and in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.